Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Mulch reduces weeds and keeps the soil cool and moist. Today we're going to look at different kinds of mulch and how to properly use it. Also, seedlings are susceptible to all kinds of problems. We'll talk about how to keep them healthy. That's just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Jim Crowder. Mr. Jim is our local garden expert, and Mr. D is here.
Howdy.
Thanks for joining us.
Glad to.
Mr. Jim, we love having you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Let's talk mulch, because it's about time to start doing it, right?
Well, it is. It's time to start thinking about it. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is what mulch does for you and the bad things about it. Okay. The first thing it does is, and most people want, it's decorative, plus it helps keep weeds down.
Sure.
That's the number one thing. But it also causes weeds in some cases. You know, and many times I get calls from people who have just gotten bulk mulch and they say, they brought me nutgrass. Well, they really didn't, okay?
Right.
Some weed seed needs sun to germinate, some doesn't. The ones that need the sun, if you cover them with mulch, obviously they're not going to come up or they're not able to push their way through the mulch. But things like nutgrass, they need to be covered. There's nutgrass seed everywhere. And so the first time you cover it with mulch, it comes up like hair on a cat's back, you know, and the mulch company gets blamed, but the fact is the vast majority of the seed was already there.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
That makes sense.
The other thing it does, it helps retain moisture and it helps moderate our soil temperature. Here, we live in an area we call the transition zone where our soil freezes and thaws quite often. And that's really not good for plants that don't like that. And so many plants that we grow here are not native to that type of soil. Things like hydrangeas. You know, if it warms up early, the buds swell, you have issues with it. So by having mulch, it helps keep that from changing temperatures quite as rapidly. Okay. So that's the good things. The other bad thing is that when you put mulch down, you think, in a year, well, it's gone, I need to do it again. Well, it's not gone. It's still there, but it's decomposed into mulch dust, okay? And if you keep adding it year over year, you get this very fine particle material that will actually slow the drying and slow your air movement through to your soil. And you'll see things like azaleas begin to suffer. The leaves will get smaller. They'll mimic an iron deficiency because they're staying too wet, which locks up the iron, and so the plants can't get it. So you get these issues by covering them and letting that stuff continue to decompose year after year. So when you feel that need to mulch, get it all out.
Get it out.
Rake it down to the ground, save that, put it in your compost pile, use it to plant with. It's good organic matter. You just don't want that really fine particles building up on top of your soil.
That's good stuff.
All right, let's talk about the types. The first ones we want to talk about are the ones that are typically free. You know, leaves and pine needles. All right. Are they acidic? The fact is, no, they're absolutely not. That's another one of those wives' garden myths that out there, okay? When pine needles fall from the tree, there is a little bit of acidity, but within just a few weeks, that's gone. With oak leaves, they're a little more acidic, but your soil pH is extremely stable. It's hard to change that pH. You can put 6 inches oak leaves on there and it isn't going to phase it, okay? Because it's such a little impact. So, and very shortly, you're going to see the pH rise anyway. We found that when we add oak leaves to a compost pile, over about 45 days, we see the pH actually rise. So, don't worry about it. You got them, use them. Okay. Now, the downside of letting the leaves fall and continue to lay there, we see voles get up underneath that a lot and use that as a run. So it's better if you can chop them up into little pieces like this and just put a ½ inch to 1 inch or so. Makes a good mulch.
So you can chop those up with the lawnmower or something?
Yeah, in fact, I just bought a blower that inhales it and chops them up and puts them in a trash can.
Nice.
If I can get that thing to spread them, I'm diving head on. This is great. All right.
The switch.
Just blow them back out. All right, let's talk about some of the ones you're going to find if you go to your garden centers, okay? These two are pine. This first one over here is what we used to call pine mulch. Now they call it nuggets, okay?
Okay.
The nuggets we used to sell were 2 and 3 inches across,
Yeah, I
but you
remember
just
those.
don't see that much anymore. So this is what you're going to get if you buy a bag of pine. This is what's called shredded pine. And shredded pine's a little better because it mats down. It doesn't float as bad as these do if you have a wash issue. Okay. Now, it's loaded with, guess what, lime. Okay, it will actually raise your pH some. So that's the reason for years we've told people if you're going to use pine, use it to plant with, use hardwood on top. So it actually can change your pH a little bit. So, but it's inexpensive, easy to come by. You know, it's a good mulch. It's better than nothing anyway.
Better than
Okay, this is what they sell here locally as hardwood mulch.
Yes.
Okay, hardwood mulch is basically everything that landscapers have brought into the mulch yards and they have smashed up with a hammer and then put into a bag and sell it to you. Okay, there's no telling what kind of stuff is in here.
Yeah.
There's wood as well as bark, so you've got cellulose in there, and then people think, well, I'll get termites in it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
The fact is, we seldom see termites actually get into mulch. Where we see it is if they let mulch get up against either wood that's used as a border or siding on a house that stays wet, then we see the termites get into that because it's covered. But we actually don't see them get into this very often. Okay. So hardwood is a good one. This is what, you know, if you order from a bulk company, you're going to get one that's real stringy, a lot more like this. And that's because they've run it through a hammer mill 2 or 3 times. And it's just, all it is just the local trees and stuff that landscapers or the city has brought them, and they chop them up. So that's
Let me
what
ask
it
you
is.
this though.
Yeah.
Because somebody actually posed this question to me. So what if somebody has diseased trees?
That's an issue.
Crepe myrtle bark scale on their crepe myrtles and they drug it out in the
Well, that's possible.
The city picks it up and
now they typically compost this stuff, okay? So they're running water through it constantly to turn it to get it to age as quickly as possible. But things like many diseases in a compost pile at 150 degrees, they're not going to be destroyed. So there is that possibility that you could get it, but you know, it's minimal, really. The main thing we see with the bulk hardwood is it's not ready yet. If you'll see some like where it's been laid down, if it smells like whiskey barrels, or if it you see water run out of it that's brown, that's tannic acid. That's not old enough, and it will plummet your pH. Get it down to where when you plant pansies in it, they'll bleach out almost and turn white. So you want to make sure that it's good and done, you know, which typically takes at least 6 months for it to age to get there. Okay.
Good stuff. All right.
This one right here is cedar mulch. Okay, this one, they say it's got some insect repellent qualities,
that.
but you know, I don't believe it because it doesn't smell, you know, like cedar, you know. Of course, what we sell as cedar really isn't a cedar, it's juniper, but that's, you know, the red cedar around here is just Juniperus virginiana, which is, it's not a true cedar. So if you brought real cedar in, most of that's on the West Coast, you couldn't afford it, you know, by the time you bag it and get it over here. So anyway, but cedar's a good mulch. It lasts longer than either one of these. Okay, so it is and it's a good bit more pricey. So, you know, that's good. The cypress, and you'll see one around here called Cypress Blend, and that's this one. This is what I use in most of my beds. It lasts a good long time, and it matures to a real pretty gray color. So it's, again, a little more pricey, but it's an excellent mulch. Now, you've got sometimes where mulch is not practical. You get to some areas of the country where you have something called artillery fungus, where the fungus grows in the mulch, and when it releases its packet of spores, it throws it up on the house, and it's like super glue. You can't get that stuff off. So instead of using organic matter, we use rock in places like that. And this makes a good one. You know, how many houses have you been by where you see where there's no shrubs and the house is a brown up about this far from splash? So if you'll take landscape fabric and put down and put this on top of it, you'll eliminate that brown there and make a better looking house. Okay. And then that's the two other things we want to talk about is landscape fabric versus plastic. All right. If you're using plastic, it really should only be used in a vegetable garden where you're going to amend that soil basically every year. Okay, it gets very hot under there, which helps the microbes and gets the soil warmer sooner, keeps the weeds down. But if you left it there year after year, your soil would sour underneath there and you wouldn't be able to grow, okay? So if you're taking it up each year, tilling it, adding lime if you need to, and putting organic matter in there, covering it back up, it will do a good job for you, okay? You just don't want to leave it there all the time.
Okay.
Don't use it in flower beds or any place like that where you got to have good air movement year after year after year. That's where you want to use landscape fabric, okay? You get good air movement through it. Most weed seed won't come through it. Doesn't stop Bermuda from encroaching on it, but we have chemicals for that to get rid of it. But it's very good at keeping the maintenance down in a bed. Now the one downside is if you're like me and you're planting stuff all the time, you got to cut little X's in it, fold it back, fix the soil right there and plant it back. So it can be a little more work. But if you're one of those who just minimal garden work, don't want to do a whole lot of stuff, make your life a lot easier.
What about newspaper? You know, a lot of people like to put down newspaper and things like that in their vegetable gardens.
Well, to me, it does work. It helps hold moisture. It just not the most attractive thing that I've ever seen, you know, and that's part of why I garden. I enjoy the beauty of it. You know, I don't go out there to read comics.
Wow.
All right.
Good stuff, man.
Hey, thank you very much.
We appreciate that, Mr. Jim.
I love mulching dirt.
We see, we can tell. Thank you much.
Yes, sir.
There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, Mr. D, problems for garden seedlings. Where do you want to start with that?
Probably the number one problem that I see in gardens with garden seedlings is folks starting too early, you know, and they try to plant. You know, we're chomping at the bits right now. You know, we're blowing and going. We're ready to go, and you prevent a lot of problems if you wait until the soil is warm enough to plant, and like damping off, the seedling diseases and things like that. I used as a guide on this Tennessee Vegetable Garden, Natalie, one of our specialists, UT, I think put this together.
She did.
But she has a really good section in here on you know, getting started right, and that's the main thing. You know, soil testing.
Yes.
You know, don't guess soil test. Make sure your pH is right in your garden, and you know, trying to prepare in advance will prevent a lot of problems. You know, that's kind of what I'm saying here. Planting at the right depth is important. A general rule of thumb is twice the diameter of the seed. Some of the very, very, very small seeds, you really don't need to even cover them almost, you know, and I'm talking about turnip seed and things like that. If you're transplanting plants, make sure that they're healthy. Make sure that they're a good green color. Make sure they're not leggy. You know, and you can, you know, don't just buy them on sale. If it's a clearance sale on transplants, then you may have a problem. You know, you may be buying a problem. Another thing is if you're going to transplant, take plants outside. It's a good idea to harden them off a little bit. Gradually introduce them to the outside. If they've been in the greenhouse, and then you directly take them outside, and you know, it was 39 degrees last night.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be kind of a shock. It'll be a shock to me and you, but it's also a shock to the plants. Choose good quality seed. Some folks like to save their seed. Some folks like to use seed left over from last year. Older seed has a lower germination rate. You know, not a problem with doing that, but you probably need to increase your seeding rate if you're using older seed. But seed is probably the least expensive thing that's going into your garden, and it'd probably be a good idea to start with good seed. Start with good seed. If you've some of the problems, if you plant seed and they do not emerge, it could be that the seed is old or was improperly stored, had very poor germination. It could be that you know, I mentioned make sure your soil temperature is good, but also the moisture conditions need to be good. If the soil is too wet or too dry, that can create problems. You know, you like to be able to pick up a dirt clod or, you know, ball it up and it crumbles and falls apart. If it sticks together, it's too wet, and if you pick it up and dust flies, you know, you may be a little dry. But and then another thing is planting too deeply. You know, if you plant too deep, sometimes it takes a lot longer for it to come up. Sometimes it won't come up. And then the damping off that I mentioned, and that is simply the seedling will come up and then the stem will look pinched and they'll fall over or begin to die. That could be Phytophthora root rot. That could be Rhizoctonia. There's several fungus diseases that can cause that, and they're usually only there when the soil is too wet.
Too wet. Okay.
And also when temperatures are a little too cool.
Right.
You know, and that's a very common problem. If they're tall and straggly, that indicates that your light conditions, you don't have enough light. If they're trying to search for the sunlight, and you know, the gardens need to be in full sun if you can. You know, if you know, leaves aren't on the trees right now, and you've got full sun in an area, you need to remember what it's going to look like when that tree is leaved out.
Right.
And it's not a good idea to put them in an area where there's too much shade. I know sometimes that's a problem, but you know, pretty much, you know, you know, try to prevent problems. Try to think ahead. You know, go small rather than big. Remember what the temperature and what the situation's like in July and August when the weeds are growing, and you know, it's you know, plant. You know, the size needs to be a size that you can manage, but you know, there's a lot of things that you can be planting right now. You know, Natalie's guide, it's got I've got a lot of things listed that you can already put in the ground. Beets, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, carrots, collards, kale, lettuce, onion, English snap peas, radish, spinach, turnips, things like that.
Right.
You can already be going with. Too early to plant tomatoes right now. Hold off on the snap beans, sweet corn, and butter beans, things like that. It's a little bit early for those kind of things. But, you know, think ahead, make sure your soil is in good shape, wait until it's, the soil temperature is warm enough and the soil is dry enough, and use good quality seed, plant in full sun, and you ought to be okay. You ought to be good to go.
We're going to have to wait a long time for that soil to dry out with all this rain we've had here lately. True. That's for sure.
Yeah, but you know, sunshine and wind can dry things out pretty doggone quick, and you know.
You know, and you hear so many people talk about planting at Good Friday. Well, you forget there's a 30-day swing in there that thing can fall. So, you know, typically our last frost is around April 10th or so. And it's probably the 1st of May before the ground really warms up.
Yes.
You know, you're talking about cotton farmers, they're not going to plant before then.
68 degrees.
Yeah.
That's the temperature that you're looking for. Soil temperature is 68 degrees.
Yeah, that's critical in getting that soil temperature up. And
that's still pretty cool if you're sitting down on the ground on the bank fishing. You know, it's still 68 degrees. Still a little chilly.
Appreciate that, Mr. D. Good stuff. All right.
Okay, a little routine maintenance on the blackberries. They really look good. I'm impressed with how they survived the winter. Got a couple of weeds here I want to pull. We're going to put a little fertilizer out. Let me do a little training here. This is kind of hanging down. I'm going to send it back in this direction. That right there. We figured out the amount of fertilizer that we needed, and the recommendations are based on 100 foot of row, and we figure we have 11 feet. We're using triple 13. 6 ounces is all that we need to put out here. And I'm going to try to put half of it out on this side and half of it out on the other side. You don't have to get that close to the plant. The feeder roots are out here. I've got some dead branches here. I think I'll prune off. They're not really hurting anything, but we don't need them. I'm not going to get into the green tissue. It's the only pruning that I'm going to do here. And just kind of get out of the way. And let's see if we get a few blackberries this year.
All right, here's our Q&A segment. Y'all ready for these questions?
we're ready.
They're good questions.
Fire away.
All right. Here's our first via email. Are ashes from burned wood beneficial for gardens? If so, what are the benefits? And this is from Willie from Arlington. Mr. Jim, are they beneficial?
Yes and no.
Yes and
Okay.
no. Okay.
You get potassium. You
Uh-huh.
also get some lime.
Okay.
Okay, so that part of it is good. The downside is you also get lye, you also get salt. Now those can be bad. So if you put too much down, you may not get the results that you're hoping for. It would be better to put them in your compost pile. Let the rain leach the lye, the salts out, then use that later. But a little light dusting is fine. Okay. Now
Light dusting.
Light dusting. You want to make sure though that you've not burned any treated wood, any of these fire starter logs, anything like that in there. As long as it's just good wood, and the hardwood is better. You don't get much nutrients at all out of pine. So if you're just doing wood, then yeah, a little light sprinkling on the surface isn't going to hurt a thing, and you'll get some benefit.
Some benefit.
Right.
There's some benefit. Mr. D, anything to add to that? Some benefit.
Like you said, yes and no. If
Okay.
you need to raise the pH in your garden. Soil test.
Huh?
If your pH is 6 to 6.5, I wouldn't put it out there
Yeah.
because it's definitely a liming material. And wood ashes will change the pH of your soil a lot faster than regular calcitic lime or dolomitic limestone will. So if you need liming material in your garden, then yes, you can put probably no more than 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet. But only if you need it. If you don't need the lime, go to the compost pile with it. Do it later.
There you have it, Mr. Willie. Yes and no. Okay. So be careful with that application. All right, here's our next viewer email. Every time I place a toad abode in my garden, the only resident I've seen inside it is a big, fat black widow spider. Is there anything I can do to keep the black widows away and the toads nearby? This is from Mary Hart's Medicine via YouTube.
The first thing to do is add a water feature to your garden. And that's even just, say, the top of a bird bath, sunk into the ground, keep it full of water, so the toads will lay their eggs in there. That way you'll increase the number of toads fairly rapidly, and you're much more likely to get one to get in there.
Okay.
All right, and they will eat black widows, okay, but it's not their choice. The best thing to do for the black widow is get one of these little condiment like mustard and ketchup squirt things. Put a little diatomaceous earth in there, and about once a month, just squirt some up in there.
How about that?
It won't hurt the toad at all. But that dry diatomaceous earth in there, as soon as that spider comes in contact with it, he's going to dry up because it just sucks the moisture right out of it.
Okay, how about that?
So it's very safe to use for around your pets and children.
Okay.
It'll get rid of the spiders, but main thing is though creating an environment for the toads to reproduce and making sure there's enough food for them to eat. Okay, so you don't want to put things down like slug killers and insecticides because if you don't have anything for them to eat, they're not going to stay there.
Right.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say don't use insecticides because you're taking away the diet.
We hope that answers your question. All right, here's our next viewer email. What type of shrub is this? And this is from Kern in Atoka. Right? So this is what I did. I know my good friend, Miss Joellen, lives out that way. So I called her on her way home, and she actually stopped by to verify what I thought may have been there. Because the picture's not that clear.
It's
not that clear.
In fact, I would have been wrong had I guessed.
Right, because I thought Nandinas, and she told me they were Nandinas. Right.
Well, I thought Fatinias.
Yeah,
right.
Right, so they are
From a distance.
Nandinas, and she also did say there was a blue shore juniper, in the mix too, and there's a holly there. So, yeah, Buford holly. So there you have it, Karen. Yeah, we got that verification for.
Nandinas are great plants because there's such a wide variety now of
the Nandinas?
ones that only get this tall,
Right.
and some of these produce berries now that are only that tall. And then you've got ones that only get knee high. The important thing about an Nandina really make it pretty is though to prune it you know.
Can you talk a little bit
periodically.
about that though? Because we get that question.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
how do you prune them?
They,
though?
they grow like canes, straight up
Okay.
like this, you know. So each year, go in and take out a third or so of the oldest canes.
Oldest
Canes, the
right.
biggest ones, and then you'll get 2 to 3 to sprout off of that will fill back up through it, and just keep doing that process.
Okay.
And so you'll have some this high every year, this high every
Gotcha.
year, and that's the best way to make them full. Otherwise, they tend to canopy out on the top and shade themselves and get naked up underneath there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, those are some pretty tall.
Those are.
Enandias,
Those
you know,
are.
out there.
Yeah, those are, and they're nice and thick.
Yeah, real nice and thick. So, Kern, thank you. Mr. Joellen, thank you too. Appreciate that. All right, Mr. D, Mr. Jim, that was good stuff.
Good.
All right. Thank y'all much for being here.
Glad to do
All
it.
right. Most welcome. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. Need garden help? Head on over to familyplotgarden.com. We have lots of instructional videos and advice to help you get your garden growing. While you're there, send us any questions you have. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.